Welcome back to the Son of a Blitch podcast. I'm your host, George Blitch. Today I sat down with Eric Morris, who's the creator and host of the television show N.onT.ypical Outdoorsman TV, which is a hunting show that features diversity and a lot of minorities in the hunting world, something you don't see a whole lot. Eric's been running this show now for 4 seasons, and there's a very special episode that airs tonight on the Pursuit channel that I highly encourage you guys to check out. It'll be airing at 7 Eastern, 6 Central, and it's a hog hunt that took place at the Why Not Ranch here in Texas in Rockdale. And it really brought together a lot of wonderful people. You have Jim Curcuruto from Outdoor Stewards of Conservation Foundation. You had a lot of folks from the Texas Parks and Wildlife, including Steve Hall, the Hunter's Education Coordinator, as well as Emmanuel Salas, who runs the R3 program. And we also had a very special guest by the name of Jesse Griffiths. That's right. The James Beard award-winning chef came out and cooked 4 different amazing meals for us, all hog dishes for us as a culmination to the hunt. This particular episode really featured the Outdoor Stewards of Conservation Foundation Come With program, which is about bringing people who work within the outdoor industry who might not be very familiar or experienced hunters. And we had a bunch of different people that were mentoring them. I got to be a mentor as well. It was quite an honor to be a part of that. And my wife, Meg, and I both did some filming of this episode. So highly suggest you guys tune in, check this out. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing to be a part of. And definitely tune in to this podcast. We'll be talking all about Eric and his history in the outdoors, his service to this great country, and what his goals are in the future with his hunting show, N.onT.ypical Outdoorsman TV. So y'all stay tuned, and thanks for tuning in.
Hello, Eric. How you doing today, man?
Hey, doing good, George. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Hey, before we dive into discussing your television show, N.onT.ypical Outdoorsman TV, I'd like for you to first tell me a little bit about your history and your love of hunting and fishing. And can you tell me about where you grew up in Alabama and how you first got introduced into the great outdoors?
Yeah, sure, George. I am from Talladega, Alabama, and I grew up there, born and raised, went to college at Jacksonville State University, a few miles up the road from Talladega. And growing up, I have always been an outdoorsman. Some people are finding the outdoors and hunting as a hobby later in life. Although my daddy is not a hunter, not an outdoorsman, I grew up doing that type of stuff. I learned how to shoot at the age of 8. That's when our families, his family, my extended family, typically teach kids how to shoot. So I learned how to shoot at 8 years old and, with a pellet gun. And about the age of 10, I was running around the yard, running around the neighborhood, chasing squirrels, rabbits, birds. I know it's not legal to shoot songbirds, but, a lot of kids who grew up hunting, that's what they started with. So, I've always had the desire for hunting in the outdoors.
So what did that look like? Were you kind of in an area where there was a bunch of kind of open land where you were running around? Was there a specific spot that you guys kind of spent most of your time out there, or what did that look like as your surroundings?
Well, my surroundings look like a neighborhood.
Yep.
So, like a lot of people, who don't have the land to roam, although my uncle did have about 40 some acres of land. And so there were opportunities, but like most people back in the day who grew up in town, inside the city limits, we hunted. It was very common to see kids walking around with BB guns, looking for squirrels and rabbits and other stuff to shoot. So I would, go up and down the street. There was find little patches of woods, and that's where I cut my teeth on hunting. And that's in the, behind the house was a patch of woods. Had plenty of squirrels. Down the road, wherever I could find a patch of woods is where I would hunt.
You kind of talked about your history of like going out there and shooting and kind of doing some small game stuff. But when did you kind of take that next step? Because eventually you became a guide. So there's a transition from there to there. What can you talk me through that and tell me a little bit about that history?
Yeah, sure, George. I can do that. And the way it's almost unbelievable or unsuspecting that I would have gone from a little boy in Talladega, Alabama, running up and down Davis Street, Tennis Street, over on Loki Street, all those places, hunting squirrels, to having my own television show and being a prominent figure in the hunting scene today. And so that didn't happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight. As the old saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day. The N.onT.ypical Outdoorsman brand and Eric N.T.O. Morris was not created overnight. So the way I came to be where I am today, George, is that I've always had the love for hunting in the outdoors. And my parents still joke me to this day that I used to want to be an Indian. And so I was home a couple of weeks ago or whatever, I think a couple of months ago. And my parents was cracking jokes on me saying, hey, remember when he wanted to be an Indian? And so I said, hey, I still do.
Yeah.
So I've always had the nature, the love for nature. I want to be outside. And so ironically, during my college years, I kind of quit hunting because hunting can be, big game hunting particularly, can be a hard skill to learn when you don't know how and when you're trying to figure it out through trial and error.
Sure.
And so although I would, I remember going out to my uncle's house, where with my shotgun and slugs looking for deer and never saw a deer. I think I may have seen one a couple hundred yards away, but I had no idea what I was doing. And so I got so frustrated with hunting that I kind of just stopped for a while. I would do squirrels, sometimes small game, but when I was in college, I did more fishing and used to skip class sometime in the springtime like it is now and go down to Neely Henry Dam there in Ohatchee and catch stripers and catfish and everything else that was biting. But I chose that route initially because I said, hey, if I go like a lot of people, sitting in the woods without seeing anything is boring. So I decided to do a lot of fishing. So when I was in graduated college, went to went active duty full time in the Army to the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg, and I would always go to the rod and gun club, the sportsman clubs, and because I always had a love for hunting. So make a long story short, after years of me being in the military, traveling from across the country, and having people look at me in sheer disbelief when I told them I was a hunter. They just didn't know what to think. And so I got tired of that deer in the headlight look because I shot my first deer when I was 30. I've killed a whole bunch since then, but it took me a while to kind of figure things out and to get my first on the board. But
sure,
throughout my travels in the military, people would still look at me when I go to the rod and gun club. Oftentimes, I'm the only Black person there. Sometimes people either figure, hey, either he's very, very good or he don't know nothing at all. And sometimes they would approach me with the perspective of that I don't know what I'm doing. And so, I just got tired of that deer in the headlight look. And so when I retired from the Army, I asked myself, what did I want to do? If I was smart, I would have gone and got a nice government job. But I wasn't smart. I said, I'm going to go out and pursue some life goals, pursue some dreams, and live life, at least try to. And so when I retired, I started a fishing guide business. And the name of it was NTO Guide Service. And so NTO, which we're going to get into here in a second, stands for Non-Typical Outdoorsman. And so creating the name for that brand was something that I love because I stopped and asked myself, what could I name this thing I'm about to create? And I looked at it and I said, okay, it should reflect something about me because you don't see many Black people, many Asian people, many Hispanic people out there guiding, being seen out front, deeply involved in the hunting. Yeah. So I said, okay, that's non-typical. So I'm an outdoorsman, so the name Non-Typical Outdoorsman came together. And so from that, I guided fishing trips for one season. And I couldn't do it anymore because I felt bad when people get up at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, to make that drive. We got there on the boat. Sometimes we catch fish, sometimes we didn't. I'm like, I just hate doing this. I need to, I had some experience in taking people out on quail hunts and pheasant hunts when I was out in Kansas and Missouri. So I said, you know what? There's a few places around the area where I can actually do upland bird hunts. And I can guarantee that people will see the bird. Don't know if they hit it or not, but I can guarantee that they'll hit it. So I started there. And then I started looking around. I said, y'all, I'm telling my friends, I say, I have been watching TV all my life. And I've only seen one Black guy on television hunting. His name was Wayne Hubbard. I didn't see Wayne Hubbard on TV until 2010 when I was out in Kansas at Fort Leavenworth, attended a course. And so, to me, I'm a guy, George, you know a little bit about me, but I'm a guy that likes to produce results. The talking and all the sit back talking, making excuses, hey, they can go somewhere else with that. I'm about results. So therefore, I said, you know what? It is past time, beyond time, for there to be an outdoor television show that has a Black person on it, a Black host, because people would give you 1,000,001 reasons why we didn't have it. Those are excuses. So me and my background, and I attacked the problem of a lack of diversity in the outdoors on outdoor television, just like you would a military operation. We have a thing called MDMP, military decision-making process. And you sit there, you break down each aspect, and you come up with a course of action to get you to where you want to go. So I did the same thing with the show. And here I am today on television. N.onT.ypical Outdoorsman TV is now in its 4th season on air on Pursuit Channel. And, life is good right now.
That's phenomenal. And, earlier you were saying you weren't sure if you made the right decision. I think you made the right decision and going and following your passion, following your heart, because it comes through in what you do. And I think you put in yourself in a situation where, like you said too, there wasn't other Black hosts. There wasn't television shows that featured a lot of them. You look at most shows these days and it's kind of the same typical thing. And it's good to have that non-typical thing. And I've seen you bring in, you have hunts where you have women coming out and hunt and doing some upland game hunting. I know you spoke with my wife when we were at the hunting show we'll get to in a minute about having her come out and having, that's something else that it's kind of catching on a little bit more. But as far as what you're saying, I don't know of any other hosts that are doing what you're doing that, that have, that are Black or Asian or those non-typical folks. So it fills that need and showing that, hey, there are other folks out there that are going into the woods, that are hunting and that are communing with nature and being a part of that. And I think that's a great thing. And one of the things I kind of wanted to talk to you about was the idea of trying to get sponsors and the difficulty in having that, because it feels like sometimes people might want to have, it's like the cultural appropriation, like where they want to like, oh yeah, we'll take your picture and we'll put you on here for an article. But to get behind you and support you, that's been difficult to find some sponsors, has it not?
It has, George. I'm glad you mentioned that, because when I first came onto the scene, I thought for sure that I had the silver bullet that would kill the werewolf, called lack of racial diversity in the outdoors. I just knew I had hit a home run. And I knew that after listening to all the talk from the industry, I just knew that I would have no problem getting companies and organizations behind me to support, the show. I was in for a huge surprise, George, because and that initial, I guess, experience still has left a sour taste in my mouth. So what I mean by that is that, people will talk the talk, and I'm all for having realistic, upfront, no BS conversations with people about the problem. A lot of people like to sugarcoat stuff and give you a nice, cute pep talk. Oh yeah, this is great. This is great. Oh yeah, call me. And you never hear from them again. So I was warned though by 2 different networks that, hey, what you're doing is needed. However, don't expect any money. Expect products. Expect people to really kind of just have a wait and see approach. And so, like you mentioned earlier, you say you think I went in the right path. My bank account would disagree with you strongly, because here's the thing I would tell you and all your listeners and viewers is that you can go broke chasing a dream. You can go broke chasing a passion. And at the end of the day, it's oftentimes you left foot in the bill. This season is the first season that the show was profitable. This is out of 4 years. So the 4th year out of 4 years. So 3 years, pretty much, selling everything I got, almost selling, blood plasma. That's just a joke, but I'm selling everything. So my Jeep, sold my van, sold whatever, my lawnmower, whatever it took, took savings, took retirement funds, took whatever it took to get the show off the ground. Because although other people kind of just look at it like, another show. Yeah, Black people don't hunt. Yeah, whatever. I took a much more serious approach. I put all I had into making it, bringing it to air. And so the sponsorship thing is this. I always think Thorogood. Thorogood was the first company stateside. What I mean by stateside is here in the U.S. to say, yes, there's Thorogood boots. However, what's ironic though, George, is that a couple of years before Thorogood before I found Thorogood, and they said yes on the first ask. They didn't say we'll see. They said, yes, we want to support something like that. And I was appreciative. However, over in South Africa, I was getting this message from a guy. Hey, we let's talk. We want to support your show, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, South Africa, I ain't never been in South Africa. Don't know anybody in South Africa. Who is this person? And I just figured spam. So I just delete. So finally, the guy sent a picture. And it was a Black guy who was a PH. Now that's a rarity among a rarity. And that's something I have been looking for years, because all of my life and most of your viewers' life, we've only seen white guys as professional hunters. I think on TV, I saw one Asian guy, or maybe a guy from like India somewhere, but 99.8% of the people are white guys. And as I always say, it's nothing wrong with being a white guy. But when you look for that needle in the haystack, it's rare to find a black, African black, Zimbabwe-born PH, professional hunter.
So what happened when you got in touch with him finally, as far as like, was that something that you kind of were able to build a relationship with and do some contact? What happened there?
Absolutely, George. The guy in South Africa works for a safari. He runs a safari called Mafajani Safaris. And we have what would be a lifelong relationship from here on. He came to the States his first time in the States. And his name is Philip Berry. And Philip and I have spent a lot of time together over the past couple of years. The first time he came to the States, he went out to Pheasant Fest in Nebraska. We did a 15-hour road trip together where he attended my booth and was talking about Mafajani hunting Africa. He went on to a few other places, Denver, Sacramento. And he said on the way up to Nebraska, man, he said, look, Eric, never in my life did I think that I would ever come to America. He said, back home, I'm a superstar right now. My family and everybody, because they use WhatsApp a lot. We use Instagram, Facebook. Right. They use WhatsApp over in South Africa. So he said, hey, everybody knows that I'm in the States. Everybody, oh my God, it was a big, big deal for him. So I went over and did a hunt, and that episode will be airing, episode number 6. It will be airing about, my experience over there doing the safari. But they are a sponsor of the show, and we have a partnership. And I'm going there again in June for my second time to South Africa. So it blew my mind how you have a company over on the other side of the world who sees what I'm doing, who wants to be a part of what I'm doing. Whereas all of the companies here in America, and I have no shame in saying, there's a lot of companies just talk the talk. It's a popular buzzword, talk about diversity and all this kind of stuff. And everybody got a DEI statement. But the only thing that matters is, are you putting money behind the cause? Because people will put products behind the cause. But George, products don't pay the bills. I can't be on air with products. I can't pay the airtime cost, the travel cost to go to Texas or go to Maine or to go wherever I'm going to be filming an episode off of products. So, it's been interesting, but, things look like they're slowly shaping up. I have a couple of companies that are interested in being a sponsor for fourth quarter. Second quarter is airing right now. As you mentioned earlier, it'll come off. Episode 4 will come on Monday. Yeah. And then we have 2 more. Go ahead.
Oh, I said, and that's actually when we're going to air this podcast to kind of talk a little bit about that. Tell me about the other 2 first, and then we'll dive into Monday's episode.
Okay. All right. After Monday's episode, you're going to see an episode that I did for the National Shooting Sport Foundation. I have a nonprofit, and the nonprofit got a grant from the National Shooting Sport Foundation to produce and air 4 episodes depicting minorities in hunting in the outdoors. So this is the 4th event that actually is one of 6 events. No, one of 4 events. I'm sorry, one of 4 events that we did. And it's showing people out shooting trap and skeet, sporting clays, having a good time. And we did one earlier. It was so much fun that the word got out, and they said, hey, y'all got to do a second one. So the second one was even bigger, had almost 3 times the number of people. Then the 5th episode would be Mafajani Safaris, the one I just told you about. It's taken me a while, too long to get this episode out. There's so much content that I want to show, but my show is limited to 21 and a half minutes of content. And so, you can't go to South Africa, to do a hunt, to cover everything from you leaving Atlanta airport to, arriving in Johannesburg, to doing the hunt and then coming back. So it's taken me way too long, almost a year to get that episode done. And but I'm going to have it done, and it's got to be delivered and shown in parts. I can't show everything in 21 minutes. So I'm going to have probably part 1, part 2, and maybe even part 3. But it's going to be a good episode.
So you work a lot about putting these out on the Pursuit channel. And then I've also seen you have your own YouTube channel too, do you have a certain timeline after you put something out on Pursuit that it's available on YouTube? Because I know, some folks don't get Pursuit channel. I know that you can kind of get on the app and maybe be able to check out some of the shows there too, right?
Right. You can. And so what I'm going to do is that, to answer your question, yes, there are some episodes I have put on YouTube. However, I want to maintain the power of being on having a nationally televised show.
Sure.
And when I tell people about the show, they automatically think, oh, on YouTube? No, on national television, where it's being seen from Maine to Washington, from wherever. And so, the process is that typically what I do is like, for instance, the episode is going to air on Monday. I'll go ahead and put that on YouTube because it's not necessarily about viewers and ratings. It's about just showing the episode and getting as much eyes on this episode as possible. However, with the app you mentioned, 90 days after each episode airs on television, it is uploaded to the Pursuit Up app. And that's where you can download the app for free and watch all kind of content, watch all episodes from this season. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, when in 90 days, from 90 days from Monday, whatever date that is, once the shows, all episodes uploaded, I'll send out a mass email to everybody I know saying, hey, download the Pursuit Up app for free and watch all of season 4.
Oh, that's going to be great, man. That's going to be great. Well, we got the DVR at our house, so we've got all of them recording as they come in. So we're going to be watching.
So you've been watching them. You've been watching them as they come.
Yeah, and I've been going and checking them out too on YouTube, man. I mean, like that's where I've seen the majority of them until because we had to actually add on to the Pursuit channel because my wife and I were like, well, we got to see the show that we were a part of with you in there, and so we're like, I went to look at it and I was like, we don't even have it. Okay, so we got to call them up, add it up there, but. I knew that they also said something about the Pursuit app and being able to do that as well. But, I definitely highly suggest everyone go and check out and add the Pursuit channel. Hey, if it's $5 extra a month, do it for now. And you can DVR all the ones as they come up. So it's really cool, man. I've enjoyed the show. Let's dive into talking about Monday's episode. Here in Texas, you traveled down. You're working with the Outdoor Stewards of Conservation Foundation, Texas Parks and Wildlife. We had some other awesome guests and stuff, but why don't we just go ahead and lay out how did that particular episode come about in this filming and just kind of lay it on out there for everyone.
Yeah, sure. Hey, the way the episode came about, George, is that Jim Curcuruto, the executive director for Outdoor Stewards of Conservation, Jim has been following me and friends with me for a while, and Jim knows what I do. I consider myself to be the best in the business at showcasing diversity, getting more minorities out there to hunt and engage in the outdoors. So Jim got a grant for his organization. He called me and said, hey, Eric, are you able to produce and film some hunts for me? I said, sure, I can do that. That's what I do. And so, we started talking and we came up with the idea because I've been to Rockdale Ranch just 3 times prior to us filming this episode there when you were there. Mm-hmm. And so, we came, I said, hey, I know a great location, good place, plenty of hogs out there. And he said, so I put him in contact with the owner, Mike, why not? And he said, okay, I think it's a go. And so we came down, met the other people there. And I brought one of my pro staff members down and we got some good content. And you also in the blind filming some good footage too. So I appreciate that. But that episode there is going to be fun for anybody who wants to see hogs being shot. Sometimes it's for people who want to see the challenges of hunting hogs, because we had a new hunter on that particular hunt. What I mean by new, and you will see on the episode, Kevin, who works with Texas Parks and Wildlife, Kevin was brand new. And at one point, Kevin said, hey, prior to 3 days ago, I had never even touched a rifle. Yeah. And so that was pretty shocking. And he shot a hog. He made a bad shot. I'll go and say it was a bad shot. But he had a chance to redeem himself, but he was somewhat unfamiliar with the gun he was using, so he didn't get a shot off. And we tracked that hog for about an hour through the stickers, briars, the falling on hands and knees through the little pig tunnels. Oh, yeah. And we never found that hog. So it's going to be a good episode, a lot of good, authenticity. I pride myself on filming and producing authentic content. Nothing you see on this show ever has been rehearsed or has been planned or has been a script. What you see is what happened. And that's the way I like to show the outdoors to my audience.
Yeah. Well, and I love that idea too, because there's a few members of the Texas Parks and Wildlife who they're in the industry, but they don't have a lot of the experience of going out there and being a part of hunts, which is, it seems kind of non-typical in that fashion too, because they're in that industry. Right. And, I know that we sat with one of the ladies in the hunt, the second morning of the hunt. And, we got skunked out. I mean, we saw some animals come in. We saw some access deer and some whitetail, but no hogs. They were radio silent that morning. But we kind of talked to her about like what that was like. And she handles the lifetime sales for all the licenses for Texas Parks and Wildlife. And she'd gone on one deer hunt before, but she was very new to this experience and was very excited. And it was even, not seeing anything as far as a hog. She was so excited to be a part of that. And I had kind of forgotten because when I was with Vince the night before, he had a little bit more experience. And so when I was asked by Jim to kind of come in and, he's like, do you want to be a mentor? I was like, I'll be whatever you want. I can film, I'll go and get pizzas for everyone, whatever it is. Like, I just want to be a part of it. It sounds like a great opportunity. And with Vince, he had a little bit more experience, and, he got one of the hogs in the shot. I'm sure that'll be in the show. And, but having like this other lady who had not done that before, it was really cool to see someone the first time. And I had kind of forgotten, like, I've helped a lot of friends and a lot of family members come in and get more familiar with hunting over the years, and kind of being that guide and mentor of sorts. But, seeing people in their, older adult life coming in and doing that, it's unique. It's not like the kids that, most people kind of grow up like you did.
Right.
I think I was 6 when I got the pellet gun, and, we've been around it and familiar, but a lot of people, it's their first time coming through, and it's really cool to be a part of that. And I love what that brings to the audience too. And it kind of shows people that, hey, it's never too late to join and to learn this, the love of your outdoors, and put some, fresh meat on your table that you provided, which is always something that we enjoy. And I kind of wanted to branch out into that too. So, as far as like the food, we had a very special guest come in at the end of the filming, and I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. I got his books above me over here, Jesse Griffiths.
I see him.
Oh, man, he is a phenomenal cook. For those who don't know, go over to Austin, Dai Due, check out these books. He's a James Beard Award winner. We got to have some amazing hog dishes. And I was just kind of curious, did you have a favorite out of all those? Because he cooked 4 different ones for us. It was amazing.
He did. I ate the tacos, the different sauces on them. I like the fajita taco, but the fajitas or
the carnitas.
Tacos, yeah. Carnitas, that's what it is. Yeah, so I like those. Yeah, they were good. Man.
So I was going to ask you that kind of, transitioning to, have you done a lot of hog cooking? Is there a certain type of, animal that you hunt that you love to eat and cook the most? What's your favorite out there, man?
Let's see. I love everything that I hunt. I have done a lot of hog cooking. I've shot several hogs, and I like to smoke them. I like to take a wild hog, marinated in pineapple juice, cloves, and nutmeg, and let it marinate for like 2 days, and then actually put it on the smoker. So that's good. But I like all of the game. Everybody loves deer back straps.
Yep.
Everybody loves that. So, I don't necessarily have a favorite. I guess, one thing that I'm developing a palate for, and that's duck. Duck has a different taste. So we came home with 16 ducks this year. So, that's plenty enough ducks to make myself like it. So ducks are pretty good, but I pretty much like whatever, deer. Deer is a staple of my diet. Just for your listeners and your viewers, I do not buy meat from the grocery store. The only meat I eat is either the meat that I kill from the woods or from a restaurant or something, of course. But as far as going to Walmart or H-E-B, arguing over the price of meat, nah, my meat is free. Just take me a little bit of elbow grease and time.
Sure,
but it's free.
Yeah, I feel like it's tastier when we do it that way.
It is.
Yeah,
it's better. It's a completely different taste between farm raised foods and then meat and then wild meat.
Yeah.
Let's take turkey for example. It's turkey season right now here in Georgia. I'm going to try to go out into the woods tomorrow and see if I get one.
Nice.
But wild turkey, the first time I tasted that, I hated it because all of our life, we grew up with Butterball, Tyson's,
sure.
The big 20-something pound turkeys that oftentimes, pumped full of steroids and hormones to get them that big.
Absolutely.
But wild turkey tastes nothing like a farm raised turkey. It tastes more like a roast beef or some type of, other meat.
Right.
But I've, since, learned good ways to cook that, and it is good to eat.
Oh, I love it. We actually, very beginning of this month, took a couple of my buddies out who hadn't really had a lot of experience turkey hunting. And one of them got his very first turkey. And so we were talking to him about different meals. And I did one called a turkey cordon bleu, where, you're basically, taking the turkey breast and you're cutting it down the middle and you're folding it out and you're laying, ham and prosciutto and Swiss cheese and brie and all those things. You can't really fully get the full flavor of the turkey. It tastes amazing, but it's but he was going to do some kind of schnitzel style, and he ended up cooking, and he's like, this is the best turkey I've ever had in my entire life. And he was able to disassociate the idea of what he had for all those years, but he's like, I love it. And there's about 8 other people that had it, and they're like, this is the best ever.
Yeah.
Why are we only allowed 1 gobbler per county, in this county per year? And he was like, I want to go out and get more, because when you've had it and you really can try it, and it's, it's like with Jesse, when he came in and cooked, there's some folks that looked a little timid that might not have eaten hog before. And then you taste, like, this is delicious. If it's done right, it can be a 200-pound boar that stinks to high heaven. But if you know what you're doing, and if you follow some of the recipes of some people who know what they're doing, it can be a game changer. And I got a whole freezer full of hogs that will, to show for with just that. Yeah. So I wanted to get into some other things too. You're not just the TV personality and the guide. You are involved with a lot of different things. You're a diversity consultant. You're on the board of the Outdoor Stewards of Conservation Foundation. You've done some public speaking. You got your own nonprofit. I'd like for you to talk about some of those roles that you take on with those organizations, and how people, if somebody wants you to come out and talk about your experience, how they can reach you, and what that kind of maybe what those speeches may look like too.
Yeah. What I do with the speeches and public speaking, George, I primarily focus on diversity. I know right now, one of my biggest pet peeves is that talking about diversity in hunting has become popular these days. It's become a business for a lot of people. But I like to mention that I've been doing this before it became popular. I was doing this since 2010, when most people weren't even thinking about DEI and diversity. So I come out and I specialize in teaching people how to do what I do. Now, ironically, though, some agencies have not been open to that. Some people say, hey, Eric, can you come out and talk to us about this? Or can we pick your brain on how to do this better? I say, well, look, I can come in as a consultant and get your organization, performing 10 times better than it ever has. But oftentimes when pay isn't being brought in, the conversation tends to stop with these agencies. But what I do with these other organizations, like with Outdoor Stewards, I'm on the board helping provide insight and direction towards, things that will make their organization successful. With my own organizations, the television show and the nonprofit, we consider ourselves to be the best at introducing people to the outdoors, and we pride ourselves in being able to outperform the industry when it comes to diversity. So if people want to get a hold to me, one, I would say this up front: be sure that you are sincere about diversity. Some people are not. I'm not interested in speaking to anyone who's not sincere about solving a problem. If you just want to talk about the problem, I'm not the guy to talk to. But for those who are interested in seriously having a conversation, seriously looking at ways to make your organization better, then you can reach out to me on, I'm on Instagram, Eric_NTO_Morris. Also, yes, Eric Morris, Non-Typical Outdoorsman TV. If you Google my name, Eric Morris, Eric N.T.O. Morris, you will find all types of things. So, I'm easy to find.
The non-typical spelling is non-typical. Is there a reasoning behind that?
It is, George. It is. Non-typical is a common word in the hunting community. However, based on my brand, and when I started it, I spelled it for an acronym, because Non-Typical Outdoorsman is a mouthful. NTO is not. So I purposely spelled it N.onT.ypical Outdoorsman. So therefore, whenever you see that name, you know automatically who it is. You got non-typical. There's another entity out there called Non-Typical Outdoors. Pretty sure they came along after I created the brand. But my spelling of my brand will never be confused. And so, that's the way I spell it that way. So it will remain forever. Nobody else in the world spells Non-Typical Outdoorsman like that. So, no matter where you go, whenever you see it spelled that way, it's spelled that way on purpose. A lot of times it confuses some people. I had talked to one company about sponsorship, a big brand company, big $1 million company, multi-million-dollar company. And the marketing guy said, hey, you might want to check your proposal because you got some misspelled words. I said, I don't have any misspelled words in my proposal. He said, well, might want to go back and look at it. And so what it was, he was hung up over the spelling of the name of the show. So, and that's cool. I mean, they then become a sponsor, and that's cool, but that's the history behind that.
I wanted you to talk about what it is that you want your legacy to be for this show and, personally as well. And, I know kind of leaving that lasting mark and kind of changing the industry sounds like a lot of that. But if you could maybe go ahead and expand on those kinds of ideas too, and tell me about your legacy.
We all going to die at some point. So again, at least once a week, once every other week, I ask myself, am I measuring up to my own standard? Am I doing enough to make a difference? So when I die, I plan for the N.onT.ypical Outdoorsman brand to be a long-lasting entity. Because again, a lot of people think it's just me, because oftentimes you see me in front of the camera, you see me on social media. I have a whole team of people behind me. And in fact, we have a pro staff meeting tonight. I have like 9 pro staff members, just on the TV side. Nonprofit, there's like 11 of us across the country. So, and we're growing that. So, what I do is I ask myself, is what I'm doing working? And I guess, the true measure of my success would be, are people, not the industry, because the industry, they go with whatever flavor of the month it is on what they're going to promote. I'm about the end user. Are people in the minority communities more aware of job opportunities in the outdoors? Are more people in the minority communities comfortable and educated enough to go out and hunt, knowing where to go? Are more people in the minority communities taking their kids out and hunting? Are people in the minority communities seeing enough people who look like them portrayed in hunting in the outdoors? Because what I do, like I said earlier, everything I do, George, is authentic. It's nothing I don't do anything for publicity, anything for credits, anything for the Facebook likes. It's all about authenticity. So if I have met those objectives, and if the answer is yes to all those questions I just asked, then my job is done. And so even me, most people have heard of Eric Morris. A lot of people who are out there now are products of Eric Morris. They have been inspired to do what they do by Eric Morris. From hunter education instructors, I've inspired people across the country: Brooklyn, New York, Hawthorne, Florida, Montgomery, Alabama, Colorado, Texas. People all across the country have been inspired by me doing what I do, encouraging them, being an outspoken advocate of what I do. I'm not biting my tongue for nobody. I'm not going to water stuff down for nobody. I'm going to speak and say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done. It's not common for Black people to be seen doing that in America. And this, particularly years ago. But since George Floyd's murder, and a lot of people are acknowledging the wrongs that happened in America, some people somehow finding courage. I've always had courage, and I've always believed in leading by example. And so you'd be surprised at how many people, even I went to a conference just as an attendee, ended up being the semi-keynote speaker, and I was just a guest in the audience. But one girl was there, her and her husband was there. He's Hispanic, she's half Hispanic, half Asian. And after the conference, we met, and because I'm all about acknowledging people. And one of the things that pissed me off throughout my lifetime is when you see other people who look like you who don't even acknowledge your presence. And I said, I would never be that way. And so with her, although I'm not Hispanic, we went up, we talked. And after the conference, she said, Eric, I just want to tell you, thank you for what you said. You said exactly what I was thinking, but I just didn't have the courage to say it. And I told her, I said, look, we never will get anywhere by keeping our mouths shut. We never will get anywhere by, trying to walk a fine line. If you are dominant in what you do, in the front runner, you don't have to apologize to anybody. Your only thing should be, hey, y'all, keep up with me if you can. And with her, though, we had another conference yesterday, and on Zoom, and she admitted that, hey, I was probably one of the least experienced people in the room. I said, you were? She said, yeah, I hadn't really hunted. I want to. So guess what? My organizations are going to go up and partner with her organizations to get them and other Hispanic people in the area out there hunting. That's what it's all about.
That's great, man. That's great. Well, it sounds like your legacy is one of honesty, integrity, education, and it shines through, man. It really does. And I'm glad that you're out there and that you're reaching folks to inspire them to be a part of it. And if, hey, this is an interest you might have had, you can do this. People do this that look like you, that, come from those same backgrounds as you. And maybe that's not a spotlight that normally gets shined down, but you're creating that avenue and that atmosphere for people to feel more, included, and to be able to go try something new, like I love the idea that you're bringing new people to the field. I've seen some of your episodes where you're bringing kids out to do trap shooting. You're
Yep.
bringing folks out to the outdoors that never hunted before, and they've always had this interest of maybe my uncle did or whatever. And then it's like they're coming in and you're holding their hand through the process and really showing them and empowering them and really kind of being able to inspire others, man. And I really appreciate what you're doing in that space.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One thing that I'll say is that although I'm very outspoken about the minorities being in outdoors, I tell people sometimes, I say, I tell them all the time, not sometimes, I tell them all the time. Sometimes the appearance of the messenger does matter, but in the end, the message is what matters.
Yeah.
So therefore, I do these clinics down here in Georgia where I call them how to hunt clinics. And I have people, oftentimes grown men, travel from all over the country to come spend 2 days with me, learning one-on-one with Eric N.T.O. Morris about hunting, what you need, what you don't need, things to be aware of, those types of things. And people pay pretty good money to come with me. I had some guys drive 12 hours from Detroit, Michigan, 6 of them, drive down to do to spend a weekend with me there. And I told them, I said, look, y'all, I'm sure that y'all pass plenty of white guys, plenty of white hunters who would love to take y'all out, who would, be more than happy to teach you what they know. And they say, yeah, but we rather, come to learn from somebody like you. And I can understand that, but at the same time, I don't want anyone to pass up opportunity to learn about hunting. And even myself, a lot of what I learned starting out when I really got into hunting, I learned from white guys.
Yeah.
Just through default. I was out in, I had come back from Iraq, got stationed in recruiting command out in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and had found a mechanic that had a hot rod. I'm a Mopar muscle car guy.
Nice.
And so I have a guy doing some work on my Duster. And he said, hey, man, do you know anybody who wants to hunt? We got a spot on our lease we're trying to fill. It's $750 for the year. And I look at this guy. He looks like a taller version of Charles Manson. And I'm looking at him. I said, I hunt. He said, you do? I said, yeah, I hunt. He said, I said, I might be interested. He said, so we went out to land, looked at it. And the thing I tell anybody is that regardless of how you look, regardless of what background you come from, the common thing that bonds us together as hunters is a love for hunting. Yeah. And I have proven this time and time again. I've taken guys from Atlanta, the hood in Atlanta, who are hunters, take them down to Fort Benning, Georgia to participate in a hunt where it's mainly white guys. And again, I don't like being a token black guy. So I'm going to always bring in as many people of color as I can, whether it be black, Asian, whatever, mixed, whatever. I don't know if mixed is a political correct word, but biracial, I think is the right word.
Sure.
So
Gotcha.
I'm all about bringing in those people because, oftentimes, too many times, we see that one black person and they say we got diversity, whatever. But now I've taken guys like the guy from Atlanta, took him down there, and some guys like from the mountains of Georgia, like backwood mountain guys on a hunt. And you get the two together who would never, ever, ever travel in the same circles. You got the guy from the hood, the black guy from the hood, you got the white guy from the mountains. They both like hunting and they get there to see each other. And it's like, okay. But after about an hour, they best friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what it's all about, George. And so I'm very outspoken for getting more black people involved and more other, minorities involved. But my ultimate goal, which is part of my legacy, is to get it to the point where blacks and whites and other people, we're all hunting together. Just like how we all go to school together, we all work together, we all hunt together. But some of the things that are affecting that, and they're out of my control, some of the things that are affecting that and working against me is what happens in society sometimes. And as I do my guest speaking, I say, y'all, we have to be careful. We have to be the best people we can be, because when we do stuff that is wrong and is bad, it sends ripple effects throughout society.
So, Eric, you talked about your time in the Army and your service. And one, I just want to thank you for your service on behalf of everyone and all those who serve our great country. And I wanted to know a little bit about how you chose to take that direction in your life. Was that something you always wanted to do? Was that something that was opportunistic? What was it about joining the Army that appealed to you?
Well, I am a man that has always loved adventure and excitement. I have wanted to join the Army since I was probably, I think, in middle school, watching the ROTC marching the Christmas parade in Talladega downtown by the square. And those who may be from Talladega or familiar with Talladega. You may know where the square is down there on Battle Street, but I would watch the ROTC march down there, and I was, I want to do that. And back in the day, the motto was "Be all you can be." And so, some people are born with different talents, different drives. And I know that as, my thing is, I'm wired a certain way. And my daddy, he's not wired the way I'm wired. In fact, he just quit asking if I was his child about 2 years ago. So he was a mechanic in the Air Force. And so when I was, in ROTC, finished in high school, he told me about the Air Daddy, Dad, I don't see nothing exciting about the Air Force. And so I joined the reserves when I was in 11th grade as on the late entry program. And so I went field artillery. That was my job. My MOS was field artillery. And because when I think of it, my dad was like, hey, go in and get a skill. Go in and get something you can use when you get out. I have some qualms with that because, that's one way of looking at life. The other way of looking at life is really realizing that, hey, songs about war heroes are not made about mechanics. They're not made about eyeglass makers. And they're not made about cooks. Not knocking anybody who do that, but
right.
I have a passion for the combat side of things. So after I graduated college, I got commissioned as a second lieutenant and went to Fort Bragg to the 82nd Airborne Division and jumped out of airplanes. And I know when I told my dad I was going to do that, he's like, boy, in the world I jump out of an airplane. No, boy, what's wrong with you? I'm like, hey, that's me. I don't have a lot of love for the softness. The people who do the soft stuff. And I wouldn't do that if I was you. You got
You're
men.
Not me. Yeah.
Hey, you got males and you got men. I put it like that. And so your men are the ones who go combat arms, the Delta Force, the SEALs, the Rangers, the combat side, the infantry. The males do the other stuff, paper carrier, cook, dentist assistant, that kind of stuff. And there's nothing wrong. I'm not knocking those jobs, but with me, I wanted the combat side of it because you think of military, at least when I think of military, George, I think of the combat, the jump out of airplane, the shooting of guns. So I went to combat 3 times, twice in Afghanistan, twice in Iraq, once in Afghanistan. And I didn't have a problem with it either time. And the last time I went, the first time was in Ramadi. That was the other Fallujah that America did not get to see because it was so hot, so kinetic over there, so dangerous that you didn't have reporters covering it. That was dangerous. It was an adrenaline rush. Second time was a little, it was nothing like that. Although we got a little bit of action, a couple incoming indirect fire attacks on our base. But then in Afghanistan, that was, where the rubber was meeting the road again, because here we are on the side of on a forward operating base on the side of a mountain. And we got tested, just put it that way. We got tested pretty hard. But still, I'm wired for that kind of life. So jump out of airplanes, in combat, explosions, that's me. For other people, they may want to be a mechanic, or a cook or, something like that. But, we all, have our path that we want to go in life. And so if I had to go back to the military again today, I would still go the combat arms side. Maybe look at special forces or something like that, because I realize that a lot of what I do, the special forces, the civil affairs side of the house, fits my life better than just, a regular, conventional soldier, put it like that.
Well, it sounds like that there's probably some carryover in the confidence that it takes and going into some place that is uncomfortable and being able to try to survive and thrive. And then you kind of going into creating a company that knowingly it's going to have its bumps and bruises along the way. You're going to be one of the first of your kind to try to do that and forge that, kind of path and kind of open up some paths for other people, and having that type of confidence to do that, because it takes a lot of confidence to be a host, to be the writer, the front man of these shows that you do. And I mean, it comes across because you're fully confident with what you're doing. And that it's there, you're built for this kind of thing. And so I was always kind of curious about your background of service and how that might have kind of parlayed into your ability to then, take on this grand adventure and challenge.
Yeah, absolutely, George. I attribute a lot of my drive and motivation and tenacity to my past military background. I retired as a major, 2016. So, I've been in charge of, 200 plus people, second in command of 700 and some people, unit. I'm used to being out front. I've been in situations where, failure is not an option. So I've had many sleepless nights in my journey to bring Non-Typical Outdoorsman TV to where it is today. A lot of, doubting myself, questioning myself, cursing myself, because it's like I said before, when I first started, George, I thought I had hit a home run, had a silver bullet to solve the problem. And not a single company was willing to get behind me and support me on that. So that taught me a lot. And so what people will do is that very few people will want to support you from the get-go. But a lot of people, once you make it, and they see that you are a front runner, they see that you are a Michael Jordan, a Tiger Woods, a Tom Brady. Now they want to come on board.
Right.
I appreciate the people that were with me and supported me from the beginning. And Thorogood Boots is one of those companies, although they're not a sponsor right now anymore. I still, thank them for saying yes. Mafa Jonas Safaris, all the way over in South Africa, wanted to partner with me because they see the value, they see an opportunity. Other companies, and then there's another company out there that's on the verge of being a sponsor, but people know what the Non-Typical Outdoorsman brand is. They know that they have never seen this much diversity on television in their life, in outdoor television. They have a choice to support it, to get behind it, or to look the other way and keep going and say, oh, we didn't know. So I'll leave that up to them. But in the meantime, me and my team are going to keep doing what we do and keep being the front runners and keep getting more minorities and people of color involved in outdoors. And we don't discriminate. If there's white kids, white men, white women that want to come out, we get them too. But we're not waiting on anybody to give us the okay to go ahead to do what we're going to do, because we are the front runners.
That's wonderful, man. Well, Eric, I'm glad you are here, doing what you're doing. I really appreciate you joining me today. And, I have full support behind you. From what I can offer is, if you never need any maps for any of the hunts, hey, you give me a call, man. I'm going to put those together, and I'm always going to be sharing and promoting what you're doing. And, I hope that, you continue to get that light shined on you, and that you're getting those people supporting you, and this continues to grow, and you see it in stages each year of what you've done. And I just wish you the most success. And I want to see this be that huge national show that gets even more viewership each year, as it should, man, because you're doing some great stuff. And thank you very much for all that you do.
I appreciate it, Joe. Like I said, one thing I can tell you and all your listeners, I'm in it for the long run. I will be doing what I'm doing until the sun set for the last time. So this is not just something that, I'm doing just because it's popular right now. I'm doing it. Here's the thing I tell you before we close. Oftentimes I keep doing what I do because I realize that what I do is affecting people, inspiring people that I don't even know. And that has been evident through the emails. People I don't even know watch my content. Motivating those people, men, women, black and white. So I do what I do because, one, is needed, two, nobody else is doing it, and three, is way past time that we have something like Non-Typical Outdoorsman on TV in America.
Well, those ripple effects continue to make changes, man. And I hope that it's all rides the waves of success for you and this platform. So thank you once again. And for those who are ready to tune in to the show tonight on Monday, April 24th, can you tell them where to go, what time the show comes out?
Yep. You go on Pursuit Channel. For those, there's a list. What you can do is just Google Pursuit Channel. Where is it shown? To see if it comes on your cable network, if you still have cable. If you do, I know for sure DirecTV is channel 604. Pursuit Channel comes on that channel, and my show airs at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time on Pursuit. And so this is going to be a good episode that George and I were down at, along with a few other people. Like I said, it's authentic, and you're going to see some hogs get dropped. So, tell me what you think about that one hog that was hit with a 308, and watch what happened to that hog when it was hit with a 308. Just look me up on YouTube or wherever, and just let me know what you think. So
all right,
it's going to be a good episode, and I hope you all enjoy it.
Sounds good, man. Well, thank you very much. Non-Typical Outdoorsman TV. Everybody go check out the site, follow Eric, and let's keep it up, man. I will definitely be in touch again soon, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
All right.